Absolutely, here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. You know we are excited to see you all right before the holiday. I'm your host, Jay. You got Coop over here with your boy. Thanks for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to, as well as watching us on the Xbird. Like, subscribe, rate, review. Give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Just give us 5 anyway and gift it, as well as share on the Bird app because a lot of y'all is watching on there. So we got a lot of stuff to dive into. We're going to jump into potential fireworks over the weekend, as well as Paul Finebaum talked about 2 critical games for the Sooners. You know we got to give our opinion on that. And then we'll wrap things up on potential commitments and all of that jazz and whatever the heck we're hearing out there in these streets. So make sure you all hop in the comments and let us know how y'all feeling today. We appreciate it. Hit us up on that unfair fan line, 430-901-1906. Let us know what y'all think of the show. Love to hear from you all. And all of that. Coop, happy Wednesday, the day before the 4th. And your birthday's coming up. How's it feeling?
Feeling good. Got some good food in my stomach here. We been doing a lot of grilling here, obviously, it's summertime, and did a little Andolini's. So shout out to Andolini's Pizza over here in Broken Arrow. A couple really good guys. It was funny. So there's a guy named Jay also that apparently is a watcher of the show. So Jay, hey, shout out to you, man. And he bought me a beverage. So I love it.
Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up. We got another guest, of course, here joining the Standard Collective. The boy PG himself. What it do, PG? How you doing this beautiful Wednesday evening?
I'm doing good. I got lost in video games and realized, it's 7 o'clock.
The level of disrespect that I get from this guy.
Man.
Jay knew when I was not on time. He's like, he's playing Call of Duty.
Exactly what I was thinking. That's why I went ahead and pinged him with a little message. And of course, he didn't show up. But he is now. How you feeling this week, man? We got the holiday coming up. We got potential commitments coming up. What you thinking?
I'm feeling good. I just need recruiting to simmer down, and I would like some not dramatic recruitments, but I don't think that's ever going to be possible.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. I actually...
Not with the 5.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think at all. But the good thing is we're now at the point where Oklahoma typically flourishes in the recruiting trail, right? This is the time where all the good things happen for us. And so, yeah, I am beyond excited because if things happen the way that we all expect them to, this weekend going to be bananas. BANANAS. So let's lead off with this. We're officially in the SEC, guys. Got to do a vibe check. Y'all in the comments. I know everybody. When I say everybody, I mean everybody has been talking about us joining the SEC. That has literally been the conversation among most of your national shows, most of your YouTube shows, local shows. It's been Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC. What does that mean? What do we think about it? How do we feel? Bluesy, blase, blase, blah. Non-stop. So, I'm curious, with all the noise, how y'all feeling about it? Coop, we'll start with you.
Please, Oklahoma fans, if you see some rando dropping something that you know is disrespectful, let it roll. You're not changing their mind. They are hitting you up. If you see, go to the Twitter app or x.com. They finally switched it, so now I got one less beef with that. But Teddy Lehman was just talking about it just within the past hour about, you guys know the history. You guys know that we're recruiting. You know how that is. Those facts are facts, and any punk that's trying to, blast us or whatever, just don't, because how the algorithm works, if you click on it, they're going to say, this person wants to see more of that. And then also for the person putting out the nonsense, they're doing it for a reason, because we show out on social media to stand up for the Sooners, and I love that about this fan base. But just take a screenshot of it and scream at your phone and share it on Facebook or something. I don't know, just whatever, but don't interact unless you want to see more of that. If you want to see more nonsense from randominium Florida fans, shouldn't be talking to us at this point. So Florida's got their own house to get in order before they start mouthing off. So again, just don't worry about it. You know, a lot of the legit content creators, you know, our boy Ty, Brinsky, Shoddy, Coach I, a lot of these guys that we have done collabs with, those are cool cats that just really, really want to talk ball and just want to talk, you know, expectations. If anybody's putting out lists and stuff like that, they're getting it for engagement. Have some self-control, do your best. DM me and be like, I'm tired of this fool, and I'll agree with you, but don't press send. Was that Herman Edwards?
Don't press send.
Don't press send.
That's my Herman Edwards. You may see me tweeting that occasionally. That's one of my favorite videos by him. See that little button there? Don't press in. Don't do it. Don't press in. Because there's one thing you don't need to do is press send. Don't put yourself in those situations. Hence why I don't. Hence why you rarely see me engage. I may bicker a little bit with some people, but I will quickly tell myself, is it worth my time? Should I engage with this loser? No. I'm going to pull back. PG, vibe check. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. So far, the SEC fans have been nice to me, right? Or so far, I have not met any jerk-off content creators in the SEC space just yet. So I'm sure they're there. I'm sure they will show up. But right now, they're all nice, very welcoming. Say welcome to the SEC.
Damn, short, sweet, simple. Y'all hop in the comments. Tell me what y'all vibes are feeling. It seems like everybody's as excited as we are. So, of course, we're stoked about that. Let me switch this up. There we go. Got to surround myself with greatness. We'll do that. All right. I think this is probably the fun topic of it all. Our boy, Paul Finebaum, spent some time in Oklahoma. I'm going to be honest. He gave y'all some props. He gave Sooner fans and Sooner Nation a ton of props for their hospitality and excitement and all of that. He was pleasantly surprised at the reception he received coming here, right? So of course, you know, got shout him out though. But he hopped on what was that, McElroy and Kubelik's in the morning show, and he was sharing his thoughts about the SEC. And I talked about it on the Locked On Sooners this morning actually, and I thought it'd be an interesting topic for us, right? They asked him about, well, Finebaum stated that these are the two games that will tell Oklahoma for 2024. And I want to get who you guys think are the two most important games. And I'll lead off in a minute. But he says it's Tennessee game early, and you all know what's going to happen when Josh Heupel shows back up here. He was a hero of the last national championship, and then Alabama at the end. So he thinks that the home opener and the home closer in the SEC are the two critical games. I think that that's intriguing because, of course, I agree with the Tennessee when I think Tennessee's probably the most critical game because that's going to tell us everything we need to know about this team SEC-wise. Now, granted, I love, y'all know I'm also a Tennessee has a part of my heart my entire life. But there's one thing we know that Tennessee ain't had in a long time: a defense. So for me, there's no reason for me to adopt Tennessee as being really the end-all, be-all when it comes to going to the SEC. So to me, the second game that's important, which I think is actually the most important for this season, is Auburn. And I say Auburn because it'll be our first road trip into SEC country at a stadium with over 80,000 fans. I mean, we've done the Nebraska game before, so granted, that is done. And we haven't been anything that big since Texas A&M. I don't count the Cotton Bowl or Red River because one reason. It's split. So it's 40-40, right? It's a split game. So it's not like going into an actual hostile environment where 90% of the fans are the opposing team. We haven't been to, I mean, BYU's the biggest at what, 60-something thousand? It's about 67,000 is theirs?
I think it's 62.
Something like that, right? But in the 60s. So that's the largest that we've actually been against in the Big 12 besides the Cotton Bowl and any non-conference road games. So in conference, Auburn is the one to me because that one is going to tell us the most. PG, we'll start with you. Two games that you feel like are the most critical for Oklahoma going into SEC. SEC conference games, it is.
Yeah, well, I'm going to keep maintaining this. I don't really feel like Tennessee's going to be our intro to the SEC just because we've played them recently. I think we're familiar with that program. So I look at critical games for Oklahoma being Ole Miss and Alabama. Ole Miss is because that's the game that I think a lot of people circle on the calendar saying that'll probably be Oklahoma's first or second loss depending on how the Texas game goes. And then you look at the Alabama game. That's probably the one game at home that you put a question mark next to because Alabama's defensive line, I think a lot of people forget, they have like 4 or 5 stars on that defensive line that they got last year, and they were all really good. And Alabama's offensive line, it's not going to take too far of a step back because they should have their center issues fixed, and Caden Proctor's back. Now, Caden Proctor wasn't there. Alabama's offensive line wouldn't be that big of a deal. But Caden Proctor is a future first-round pick and absolutely freak of nature. So I look at Alabama definitely. If you go and you win that game, I think you can march into Death Valley and you can win that game as well because LSU is just not as talented. And I don't think we're going to play LSU at 7 p.m. now. So that one doesn't scare me as much. And it looks like Jay is frozen. So this is your perfect opportunity to get a screenshot here.
Topher, if you are in, you missed your opportunity. Topher got it. I believe in Topher. I'm gonna, just because you guys both said a couple games, I'm gonna throw a couple different ones because I would say that the first road game is a big piece, right? Auburn game, because that's your intro to going to an SEC stadium. Auburn does have a little grapes that they want to squash based off of that last bowl game when we straight embarrassed them, and that's a little bit of a trash team that year. But I don't think that we were really the strength right there either. So I'm going to say LSU and Alabama because everybody wants to say, and it does not matter if LSU is really good. Obviously, that's going to make it a little bit more impactful. If they're not as good, they're still. I mean, you still can't go and lose. So I mean, you got to go win that game. I think that LSU is going to have some defensive issues, but it is a little bit later in the season, so you're going to have that. Alabama, I mean, that's going to be the piece to where that is the largest game here since Ohio State showed up, and we didn't take that opportunity. So hopefully, when they come back in, that would be something that that it's going to be two good teams that get to go up against each other. Other games, I mean, you can pretty much look up and down the schedule, PG, because if you lose games that you shouldn't, or if you lose games that, where we're, heavy favorites, it doesn't look good, and it's going to give someone, it's going to give people a foothold for it. And that even includes Missouri. Everybody wants to flex on Missouri because they've been running their mouth. They tasted a little bit of success last year for the first time in a decade, and all of a sudden they want to act like they never went anywhere. That's not the case, but I think it also, there's a little chip on the shoulder, and I said this, joining another show the other day, I said this, that Missouri is one that I think that our coaching staff wants to really make a statement on. So, hey, Jay, I'm glad you joined us, man. We were really, really worried about you, and Topher got some screenshots for you, so...
Oh, yeah.
No, Missouri's an interesting one because I have been told that Oklahoma, like Lamont Rogers, when he was like OU Missouri in that recruitment, Oklahoma wanted to win that recruitment because, well, they kind of wanted to stick it to Missouri, even if Missouri was willing to pay a lot of money because, well, they took Caden Green and Williams Nwaneri from us. And Luther Burden. Now, Luther Burden wasn't the staff, but you catch the drift. So Missouri is interesting. Auburn, I would say they're critical, but their offense is just so bad. I mean, I don't know how they can be critical with their offense. Like, I look at 2 games that you should not lose this year, and it's Auburn and South Carolina. Like, those are games you should not lose. I don't care if you're going to have to go to Jordan-Hare. You shouldn't lose those games.
No, I mean, you traditionally shouldn't, but Auburn also puts up big fights against big teams. They lose to 4 acronym letter teams instead. So that's kind of where, of course, everybody talks about the voodoo and weird stuff that happens at Auburn, but that's the key thing is they have put up fights against Georgia. They put up fights against Bama, which they're supposed to. Bama's a rival, so they don't count. But they definitely put up fights against Georgia and give hell to a lot of people, but lose to a 4 acronym school. So I consider it as a critical one. I only say that because it's the first road game at a stadium with over 80,000 fans against a coach in his second year, and he's still trying to figure things out. Hugh Freeze knows the SEC, right? We cannot deny that. He's beaten Saban before. We cannot deny that, right? He's done a lot of stuff there when he was at Ole Miss, besides losing his job because he was soliciting prostitutes. But he's done his thing there. So because he knows the SEC, that's where my concern comes in. Now, I'm not saying it's a game we lose. I'm saying it's a game that we walk in there in this hostile spot because we walk into what? 4 hostile spots? We go there. We go to Ole Miss, Missouri, and then LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think Ole Miss is like an 11 to 12 game, and I think LSU is what, 2:30 to 3:30.
LSU's 3:30
TBD.
to 7:30.
LSU is going to be a flex, guys.
LSU's a flex.
If LSU and Oklahoma both hold their end of the bargain, they're going to make that a 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Well, yeah, it's 3:30 to 7:30, right? It's flexed in between the afternoon and evening, so it's not an early game. Ole Miss is early. That one is going to be an early game. It's going to be between 11 and I think 2. Is what the anticipation is on that.
Does Oklahoma get their first wins this year against South Carolina and Ole Miss? We've never played South Carolina. We played Ole Miss one time and we lost.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think we can win both those games.
It's.
Even outside of delusion, right? Outside of delusion and how we talked about it, on the SEC Connect, and everybody was kind of getting on the Texas fans on it. But outside of the standard fan delusion, there's nothing about Ole Miss that scares me, right? Like, they brought in a lot of players, but we've seen teams load up on a whole bunch of good dudes out of, just together, and it just doesn't work out. We've got to see. I got to see an example of it working before I can believe in it.
It's not the collection of talent that they have, just the collection of talent. For me, it's the collection of talent plus having to go to Oxford. Like, I think those two things combined, is the scary part. I mean, that's
if I'm afraid of going to Oxford, I'm afraid of going to Jordan Hare. I mean,
that's probably your hardest road test is against Ole Miss.
Possibly, because Ole Miss is a better team. So yeah, that's a fair one. I think LSU's probably going to be the hardest because not only are they a much larger stadium, they traditionally play very well at home. But I'll say this: this is how I feel about Missouri and LSU. I don't know about them if they're going to be a game worth penciling right around Red River. Because that's when we'll know. That'll be 5-6 games in. At that point, we'll be like, they're in a downward trajectory, or it's like, they're middle of the road, or it's like, oh, shoot, they could be terrifying. We'll know at that point. Because LSU's got USC.
The thing is, Missouri can't be any worse than having to go play Oklahoma State.
Fair.
I'm a little confused by your tactics on that comment, PG, because I don't know if you're taking a shot at both of them or you're trying to be neutral.
No, I'm just saying, I think Oklahoma State's environment to go play in is absolutely hostile. When you watch them on TV and that crowd's going, I think Oklahoma State's
I think Boone Pickens is.
I don't think I've watched Missouri's fan base against Georgia. It's not that impressive.
I know. Boone Pickens be rocking. Don't get it twisted.
And they're right on top. They're right on top of you, and they got the paddles, and their deals. It looks like they're molesting horses and all that stuff. So
and in the wind, the way the wind blows through there, it's a painful stadium.
It's not a bad place.
It's just small.
And guess what? They get off on absolutely every single failure. Incomplete pass, a fumble, and anything. They go crazy. And so, I'll just say this is, I don't put Ole Miss there. I'm still of the show me state mentality with Ole Miss. I'm going to have to see, Quinshon Judkins leaving. That's a huge deal. That was one of the best backs in the country, and he rolled out. And I know they brought in other guys, but I got to see one of the mercenary teams actually show me something before I start believing in that, because when you're all about that transfer bag and you bring 5, 6, 7 of those guys in, and especially from programs where they weren't seeing a lot of success, like a Walter Nolan, stuff like that, like those are things that I just got to see work before I get too excited about it. But I mean, you can't. But this is the thing is with the SEC, you can't just go, I think we're going to be good with that one. Let's peak next week, which goes right in order with the BV mentality for this team. It is one snap at a time, one day at a time, 1 week at a time. So they're not going to be. I'm not worried about this team looking forward.
Now, do you guys think Missouri is going to be the best offense we play?
Oh no,
I think their offense has a chance to light it up this year with Luther Burden and Brady Cook.
Best offense we're going to face is going to be between Alabama and Tennessee. Then Texas. Then maybe Ole Miss. Then Missouri.
I would go. I think. I mean, Texas lost everything. Yeah, you got Baxter, you got your offensive line, and you got old Quinn back, but they lost their top 5 receivers from this past year. So I question that. I just think Missouri is. I mean, if you can bracket or just maintain, you're not going to stop Luther Burden all the way, but if you can just keep him under control, I think that they don't have enough outside of that. Alabama, let's see. This is a complete culture shift. It's a complete leadership shift. The program is absolutely different. Kalen DeBoer has done more with less. I 100% agree with that, but I do want to see. There is a scheme change, and it is a big scheme change, and so let's find out what happens there, because they got a good offensive line, but they haven't had that Bama running back in quite a long time.
Correct, but they also got 2, 3 5-stars in that running back room, that like new ones, right? Because they were 23 in that 23 class. Jalen Milroe, like I'm interested to see what he's going to do under DeBoer. Because I think
that's what I'm interested in too.
But at the same time, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of unknowns, especially in that wide receiver group. I don't know. With what Missouri's returning and bringing Caden Green in on that offensive line, like I think they have if they can figure out the running back situation, I think Missouri has a chance to put up 40 points a game in the SEC. Because Luther Burden, I mean, he went up against Georgia. He's hard to guard. Like he's hard to defend.
That's why I say
when
you're not going to shut him
Theo that
down.
can be another weapon for you.
I'm not scared of Theo Weiss in the least, and not even a little bit.
You got to respect him a little bit though, and that's the problem. You respect him a little bit, it gives Luther Burden that inch he needs.
If we're better, if we get that zone defense cleaned up a little bit, and I feel like we will. Then I'm not too worried about that. I think that Brent Venables is going to. He has the defensive line now to open up the defensive playbook. We've been doing all this with a continual metamorphosis from a defensive line being non-existent to last year just showing up at least, and now this year I think we actually have difference makers on the defensive line, and we're deep. And so that's it. And you've got guys who are going to, once it's their turn on the field, they're going to do everything they can to get more time on the field. And you're rotating 6 interior defensive line guys, and we probably have 5 or 6 on the edge too. So we'll see. With Alabama and Missouri, we will know what both of these teams are, us and those guys, by that time, because it is later in the season. And so if Oklahoma has a run in them to do something and do some damage, we'll get to see it.
No, it's true.
Missouri should be 7-1 or 6-2 when they come here. Alabama, outside of that Georgia game, might be undefeated.
If Missouri if Missouri loses like Boston College, that would be hilarious, though. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, they didn't have a good start to the beginning of the season last year, but one of the things that I really credit that team for last year with Missouri was their early losses, or their early close wins. Like, it really helped them avoid losses later in the season because they kind of figured out how to win early. So, we all laugh at that, but if they do the same thing this year, by the time they come to play us, they know how to win those late games. And that's scary, especially if you're not in those situations.
Yeah, the question is They better beat Boston College. That's a game that they're supposed to win.
They better beat Texas A&M, in my opinion.
They better beat Texas A&M Kyle Field, which I think that's probably an L.
Yeah, I think they're better than Texas A&M. I think they should win that game.
I think they should. I think they don't.
Should. Again, when's the last time Missouri had back-to-back success in successful seasons?
2012 and 2013.
Yep. When they first got to the second and third year in the SEC.
This is a trend for Missouri. They'll do bad for a couple of years, and then they'll win. They'll have 2 really good seasons, like 2 10-win seasons, and then they'll drop back off.
Right.
Like LSU.
Yeah, that's
weird.
They're the most intriguing team on this schedule because it's like if they have a good defense, they have a potential to be a really good team, but their defense looks so questionable.
Well, they got a new DC, which is what they needed. Which shout out to Brian Kelly for doing something that Les Miles refused to do, which is fire coordinators when you know that they're sucking at the moment. He brought in a new DC, which is the one Missouri had, which was really a key catalyst in what they were doing, and their defensive line coach, which is the guy that kind of recruited like Williams Nwaneri or whatnot. He brought in some key pieces to fix that. Now, the question is, what's execution going to look like? Again, we'll know by Red River what LSU is. I mean, I could say the USC game could tell us much, but I don't know. But I do see that like a couple of games down the line, I said by the time they get to us, then we'll know exactly who LSU is. The same thing with Missouri, right? I mean, the Boston College game is going to be interesting. They shouldn't have a single problem with Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt's still trying to figure out their lives. But if Vanderbilt decides to get their lives together and do something, that's going to be a terrifying notion because they do randomly show up. The A&M game traveling there, that's one I'm just like, that could be tough. And then, of course, Bama off week us. So, I don't know.
I think that's what makes the SEC this year so damn intriguing is there's so much like if this goes well, can Missouri repeat? Does LSU find a defense? Does Alabama mold into this deal? How does OU and Texas translate into the SEC? I mean, I don't know if there's very many, like, without a shadow of a doubt, we can guarantee that this happens.
Right.
And so this is going to be a fun league to watch. And again, people are going to start, watch it. People are going to start dogging. Big Ten people are going to start dogging. Big 12 people are going to start dogging because you're going to see a lot of blood during regular season. But the teams that show out, I mean, if you're Oklahoma and you go 9-3, you're getting in the playoff. If you are Alabama and you're 9-3, you're getting the playoff. And I've seen people go crazy and say 4 or 5 teams from the SEC in the 12-team playoff, and that's one thing that we're going to have to adapt to as fans. Is listen, losing a game is not the end of the world. Like, calm down. And we don't have the deal, but they play in the Big 12 anymore, so it's going to be a marathon.
Yeah, and that's the one thing even about our schedule. Taking the homer hat off, there are toss-up games in our schedule to me, right? Yeah. Games that I'm just like, I'm not sure, and it's going to be based upon multiple, factors like true execution. I honestly feel like your Texas, Ole Miss, Missouri, and Alabama are really only 4 games I feel like are truly toss-up games, in my personal opinion. I don't think LSU is. I think they need one more year, especially with Nussmeier and the new revamped defense. Because once Dominic McKinley actually gets on the field, then I'm going to be terrified of that defensive line. But until he gets out there, I mean, he's young, and he kind of looks it. He's got to execute for me to be like, they're going to be a problem. I don't see it with them yet. But I do think that there are 4 toss-ups. I don't fear Tennessee, and neither do I fear Auburn. I don't think either are going to be horrible teams, but I don't have a reason to fear them, right? Tennessee coming into this game gets to, have a good time. I think North Carolina State's probably the game North Carolina State's ranked 18th in the country for a reason. I don't think it's because they just that they're completely overrated. There's a reason why they got them up there. We got to see what they execute on. But Tennessee goes out there to Charlotte and knocks them off, then I'd be concerned. I'm like, okay, Tennessee's got something going, but we still question their defense. They lost a lot in the secondary. I mean, they got James Pierce Jr. and the Pips on the defensive line, and then we're still trying to figure out their wide receiver room. So it's going to be fun, though. once we get to Red River, that's when, to me, we're really going to be like, okay, who do we got coming up? Who's going to be any good? Because I still feel like Florida, man. Florida going to shock some folks. Their schedule is awful. I mean, they got the Miami game. They got Florida State. So they got 2 out-of-conference games against ranked teams. There's a chance they're going to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight ranked games.
They're going to win 8 games this year.
And if UCF shows up, there could be 8 straight ranked games.
They're going to win 8 games this year. Florida's going to be have a lot of hype going in the next season.
I wonder if Billy Napier is going to be there for it.
I think he will. I think if he wins 8 games, that's good enough for him to keep his job. I think they'll see enough improvement there, especially if DJ Lagway looks good.
I could totally see them firing him because they want Lagway to have a better coach.
That's true.
Yeah, but what if Lagway doesn't want him to be fired? Then you run the risk of letting Lagway walk somewhere else. And we all know Florida's NIL collective ain't good enough to keep him.
I think with that,
they got him.
They have him, and you can't, because again, if you bring Napier back and year 2 doesn't improve, now all of a sudden you are going to set your program back more than a year. And if you lose Lagway, you can always get a quarterback. There's always going to be quarterbacks ready to transfer out. And Lagway also, like let's see a true freshman in the SEC from with a lot of pressure. How does he play? Does he play loose? Does he play free? Because again, hearing how people are doing, like I would love to say that true freshmen. Like I'm hearing amazing stuff about Taylor Tatum in practice right now. But
I agree.
It's summer practice, and I hear lots of stuff about summer practice every single year, and then I don't, again, who were we pimping last year? G Freaky.
I mean, he was pretty legit in practice. That's all that mattered.
Pretty legit with those sweeps.
Yeah, whenever they actually worked and they didn't run them like all the time, like too many times, or every time he was on the field.
2 good plays as a Sooner, and I think that's what we remember. And there just wasn't much. So again, let's Florida. I'm hearing the same stuff. I think you are, PG. But again, you don't, as the program. If the program is thinking from a macro standpoint, you got to think about what's good for the next 10, 15 years because I don't want the relegation talk or anything like that, but. Florida needs to step back up, and the SEC is better when they do.
That's a fair point. All right, PG, it's your time to shine.
Well, if Florida wins 8 games, they're getting a big time win in there.
Well, they have to, right? In there, they're going to have to get probably 2 of those, right? Based upon the way the schedule is set. But let's move on into recruiting. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit that like button. Wipe your feet if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. Thank y'all for joining us. All right, so PG. So are we on commitment watch? Because based upon the way things are going, we are seeing crystal balls flying, right? Marion Robinson's already got a few. And the cat has been out to let out the bag on a particular offensive lineman that's supposed to be committing this weekend as well, which would be on the same day. Let's talk about Amarion. How y'all feeling about that? Because it looks like the Oregon mods have all waved the flag.
Mm-hmm. I think they've waved the flag because I think there's a lot of smoke about old 5-star going up to Oregon. So Amarion Robinson, I think that one's pretty much expected to be Oklahoma at this point. We've been talking about it for a while. Lamont Rogers is, I think, the big interesting one because today you've heard every Texas site have a different opinion on whether or not Texas is actually in this thing or not. If Oklahoma lands Lamont Rogers, I think you start to see Texas fans wave the white flag for Fasusi. And so you almost wonder, is Texas trying to make a push like what we're doing to get relationships, friends there to keep Fasusi from us? Or are they really that scared that Fasusi's going to end up at Oklahoma that they're trying to make another push at Rogers? That's kind of what I've sat here and tried to weigh. Are they trying to get Lamont Rogers so that they can get 2 elite offensive tackles in this class like what we're doing because they didn't get Sean Hutton? Or are they kind of worried, hey, because we have Sean Hutton, Fasusi's going to probably end up there regardless, and we need another tackle? I mean, it was only a matter of time before Texas tried to get involved with one of these other elite tackles in their state at some point or another. Like, they put all their chips in the bag for Fasusi, and it really started to burn them a little bit.
You're right, and that Texas overconfidence may end up shooting it because I mean you've seen Texas have taken some absolute L's. They got Smith Orogbo, and that's a big get for them. But I mean, is that one for the last 5 or 6? Like they have lost on a lot of great a lot of great players, and it is an absolute must that they shore up because I mean people are already starting to draw comparisons between Sark and Link. Just going after the big 5-star receivers and everything, but you can't recruit decent offensive linemen or defensive linemen, and so, and
everybody looks at that 23 class, or no, 22 class where they got Banks and DJ Brown and go, well, you just paid for that class. Like they literally did what A&M did.
Yeah, the pancake thing that they had, yeah,
they ain't really working out too well for them now.
Not at all.
Because they really haven't gotten anybody else outside of Peyton Kirkland.
And he's gone.
That was his name, right? Peyton Kirkland, the offensive lineman?
Yeah, the one that's gone?
Yeah, and then
it
he
just
left.
transferred?
Oh, did he leave?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kirkland's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. I'm pretty
that
sure
makes it even
that.
better then. That makes it even better.
And then I think that, because didn't he have a brother or something, like they ended up going to Alabama or something like that, and then I think that guy bounced out of Alabama too and didn't go back to Texas. So I mean, they're taking some L's. I mean, they took an L with Dominic Williams in the summer, and it seems like since then it's been tough. And we know what it's like as an Oklahoma fan to sit there and watch all these 5-star and high 4-star offensive skill positions come in, but we also know that you're not going to win anything long term. Only on offense.
Yeah, Kirkland is Peyton Kirkland, PK Kirkland is at Colorado. He's a buff now.
Oh.
Yeah, shout out to Chaos for the $2. We appreciate it. Missed that. I actually saw it and tried to star it, but I didn't. But yes, I agree with you. We definitely want this smoke. I wouldn't be mad if Bill. What people won't say about Bill beating both, he could pull off 2 of these big men, right? Like, what are we doing? Fogier with Hollenbeck. You got Sean Hutton. You was able to get him as a PWO, which that's a dub.
That's a big impact. I don't think people really understand
That's
that.
a dub. He's gonna be good, right? He's gonna be really good. He's got a chance, and at his size, beating Bo's gonna definitely be able to leverage and put him to work. What about? I mean, is it realistic to even think that Fasusi and Lamont Rogers would come?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think right now, if you put a gun to my head today and asked me where Rogers is going, I would tell you I think it's Oklahoma. I mean, and then if you ask me where Fasusi is going, I've been saying Oklahoma for almost a year now.
Yeah, you have. I've got the receipts.
I just don't think it's. It's weird because it came out of the blue and it caught us off guard, but I don't think it should have caught us off guard that Texas was going to make a push at another offensive tackle.
It's true.
Yeah. And I also say this is, PG, I made the comment to you right as soon as he was leaving, Fasusi was leaving his last visit. It seemed like that was pretty much on lockdown, and I said, watch, Texas has to get desperate. They absolutely have to get desperate. And that doesn't play with Fasusi. And so now you're seeing it too, to where you're 3 days before Texas is trying to throw their hat in the ring, and to pull from Fast and Furious, like you blew the nitrous way too soon, and those are rookie moves. You can't do that type of stuff, especially if you're going to show your hand, because if that was the difference maker, then Oklahoma has, it's like scoring with a minute and a half with Peyton Manning on the other side of the field, or Tom Brady. You don't do that. You got to score with zeros. And so I don't see it. Now, I would like to see, if Rodgers does take a few extra bucks and goes to Texas, what does that mean for Babalola? Like, does Babalola all of a sudden go?
Man, that's an odd recruitment there. So actually,
all odd.
I went to the equipment cell, right? And I'm standing in line. And of course, I got to talk to a couple players because they were walking out of the Everest Training Center, which, by the way, hot as all get out. Glad OU finally decided to bring us some Gatorade and water. Hell, I was halfway through the line because I would not have made it. But no, so I got to talk to another offensive lineman who actually he wasn't hosting Babalola, but he got to hang out a lot around Babalola during the visit and everything. And he said like he doesn't think he's committed. Although the picture of him out with Sperry, Foj, and Hollenbeck went out, he doesn't think he's committed. But he said like it's weird because he also doesn't think he wants to go to med school. Like he thinks he wants to play football. So I think it just comes down to one of those things of, can OU really sell the med program? Like, because one of the things we talked about was something that's been talked about in the Discord a whole lot. Med school really ain't all that in a bag of chips. It's your residency that actually matters. And so, like, I think...
doctors come from a lot of different schools, so yes, that's very true.
Bill and Brent Venables are going to have to sell that, I think, to the parents and say, like, your son has an opportunity to be a first-round NFL draft pick. He needs to come be developed, and he might have a future there. And guess what? He can go through his med school, and then after he's done the NFL, if he wants to go do residency to be a doctor or to leave the NFL early to go be a doctor, he can still do that.
Yes.
So he can have the best of both worlds. Like, I think that has to be sold in one way or another. But also, if he ends up being a really good offensive lineman, he doesn't need to really be a doctor. He's gonna.
No, he doesn't.
He's
gonna make a lot of. He's gonna make a lot more money very early, very fast in the NFL. And the best part is once he decides to retire after a fruitful 10-year career, he can go to medical school, become a doctor.
See, that's the thing. And that's the thing. I think with him, like, money, I don't think is the driving factor in that family because they have plenty of money, from what it sounds like. And so, like, this is the interesting one because I think there's still a world where you get Rodgers and Fasusi, and you probably still could land Babalola if your pitch is absolutely solid. Because it doesn't sound like money matters. It doesn't. It's crazy to think. It's really crazy to think, but it doesn't. That's why Stanford is the leader in that recruitment right now. Stanford ain't paying.
I can see that. He can be the next Myron Rowe, who's what, a neurosurgeon now, or something like that. The former NFL safety. He after he finished, he went to med school and he's a physician now. It's not uncommon. I just found a list. There's 6 dudes recently. Well, I'll say within the last since 1936. It looks like that's a long time ago. There's 5 dudes in the 2000s that have gone to go be physicians after playing in the NFL. 5 dudes, and it looks like 2 of them are offensive linemen. So yeah, it can happen. We can make it happen. He can come to OU Med and kill it.
And I just throw this out. It's a lot easier to use that NIL money that you make and that NFL money that you make to pay off your school loans or whatever. And then now you're not taking. Now you can start banking right off. And so that's just it. But at the same time, I'm not going to stand here and say that Oklahoma can hold Stanford's jock when it comes to education. That's just not it. And that's nothing. That's no shot at Oklahoma. It's Stanford. It's going to be a better look. But that being said, I still don't think Babs is. Unless he's already made his decision and it's just locked tight, I just don't see it happening. I think you got Stanford or Michigan in that race.
That's the thing. I don't think he's made a decision, but the intel is just it's. One day you're going to hear one thing, the next day you're going to hear something completely different. So, like, with Babalola, I think it's like Smith or Rogbo. I think that recruitment is kept very tight to the chest. And, there might be several stories floating out there to kind of keep everybody off the trail. I feel like if Babalola was committed, he would have committed publicly by now.
Yeah, so I'm sensing that he's you anticipate him committing before the school year starts?
Oh,
I think he's going to be done.
I think
it's by August.
Yeah.
I think right before his senior year, he'll make his commitment. Him, Fasusi, which Fasusi said he's like late July, early August anyway, and then Rodgers, which dates are flying around of multiples. I don't even know which one's real.
Yeah,
I just know it's coming.
I was told August for Fasusi. I didn't get a date. So it's kind of all I know there with Fasusi.
So, interesting. So, okay. All right, let's wrap it up. Put a bow on it. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button, YouTube channel, subscribe, all of that.
Oh, wait. We got one more piece of recruiting news that your people need to know about.
I was about to say.
2026 5-star athlete Brandon, and I believe it's Arrington, is going to be visiting Oklahoma on 26th. And Jaden O'Neal is going to be in town.
Oh, yeah.
They're both from the state of California. Okay, so I did talk to he responded after I made my video. Responded back to me on this one. But Jay Vly is his recruiter, so I would assume they're recruiting him at cornerback, not wide receiver, even though I would like to see BV, especially if let's say Travis Hunter gets drafted in the top 10. Like I think right now he's mocked at number 9. I wouldn't mind seeing somebody like this be a dual side athlete for Oklahoma. Somebody that can play wide receiver if you're kind of needing some bodies there, but also somebody that can play on the defensive side of the ball because he's got elite size and length. So he would be a really great corner for us. He's grown up watching Oklahoma, and being in the SEC for him is a big deal. But he's got Alabama, Georgia, and a Texas offer. And Texas does well with athletes.
They do. It's very common.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's 26. I don't keep up with those kids that
Listen,
far.
we got a big 26 recruiting weekend coming up. So you got to start talking about it, especially since 25 is almost wrapped up.
We got our quarterback, so technically I can chit-chat about 26s, but I don't talk about 26s to 25 sign on the line, which is dotted. So, PG, we appreciate you keeping up with that because that's what you're here for. You already know you're my inside guy. Your job is to do that. Jason, what it do? Thanks for pulling up. We're going to wrap it up and have some fun. Jason's going to like this conversation, though. I'll say this. Y'all see Josie throw some shade out there?
Ooh. He didn't.
Y'all see that?
Shade. He didn't throw some shade. He got up there with his bow and arrow and
he dropped bodies. He dropped bodies, and it was great. It was beautiful.
It was quite glorious, and everybody.
Joe Harris got involved in it too. That was made it even better. Joe Harris got involved.
Yeah. Everybody felt the need to go shots, and so just shots fired. So he said, "I'll tell you that I will tell you without reservation. Every coach that we talked to was excited, basically about coming to the SEC. And you know what? The ones that aren't here anymore. This is Oklahoma. Either get with it or get on with it." Internet lost his mind because we all know that it was a shot at the past regime. I thought it was hilarious because all in all, it's all in fun while at the same time pointing out, look, we take this move seriously. We want to be here. PG mentioned it. Shots were taken by multiples. Coop, how'd you feel about it?
I mean, we always want to hear the administrators, coaches, just speak the truth and not give the the PC line. And so, it's a dig. I mean, this was something that I don't think that this administration, this coaching staff, is going to sit down and let you disrespect the program and go behind and do shadow type stuff and just get away with it. And now the nation is finally caught up to what we all have been talking about for a very long time. I mean, you can go back and pull Twitter from, right after he left and just go, did these things happen? Did every single one of them happened? Oh, okay. Your defense was going to let you down. Piss poor play calling in crucial situations. That was going to let you down. All that stuff happened. Every single bit of it. And so that is an absolute. Jay's sound is there. Oh, okay. Yeah. Folks, if you have issues with sound and nobody else is saying it in the chat,
your ear.
It's a you. But it was a case. I mean, it was case by case. We've said it. And Trojan, I know you're in here. Much love to you, man. I say it just right now. If you're a USC fan, want more out of that coaching staff. You need to
ask for more.
you're freaking USC. You should be in a national conversation and not wondering if the head coach is going to bolt or do something shady. And, now, he had Caleb Williams and he had the transfers at Oklahoma. Outside of that, Lincoln's missed and whiffed on a lot of guys. When your prize, follow-up to Caleb Williams is hanging out at Boise State, that wasn't a good pick. And I'm so happy that he left because we would be dealing with Malachi Nelson here at Oklahoma right now if Lincoln was still hanging out.
I hear he wasn't that good. Like, I hear he did not progress quickly, which that's kind of been the MO under Riley. He has not developed quarterbacks well. Even at Oklahoma. Like, he got transfers, proven guys already, but he hasn't developed guys out of high school very well.
He hasn't. And I think Caleb Williams was that guy. And I think that he was just a generational guy. Now, did Caleb Williams ever learn to read a too-high safety? Still not proven that that's the case. And
we'll find out when he hits the NFL very soon.
We'll
learn a lot.
The first regular season he has will be a too-high safety look. Watch.
Right. Yeah.
Right. They're gonna go all at him with that. So that
regular season. Yeah. Don't at me because he went against the Browns in preseason and balled out because I'm not. Listen, Sam Bradford's first preseason game as a Philadelphia Eagle, if you remember that, I think he went like 12 of 12 for 355 yards and 3 touchdowns, something stupid, and then it didn't look like that the rest of the season. So
Dak did as well.
Yeah.
Dak started off fantastic, which he's had a solid career. Sam Bradford had a solid career so far, just not getting over the hump. And, it is what it is. It's the hardest league. It's hard for a reason. Everybody ain't supposed to be able to do it. So if Caleb can do that, but, it was a lot placed on his shoulders, similar to a lot placed on Kyler's shoulders and Jalen's shoulders and Baker's shoulders, right? USC's going to they'll figure it out, or they're going to put Lynn as the head coach. And I think that's actually a really good idea because I really like Lynn. I like Lynn a lot. The D coordinator, I like him a lot.
He's the head coach in the waiting.
A lot.
That's what this is.
I like him a lot.
He's a good recruiter, too. He's a good recruiter.
He is.
He just can't keep those guys committed right now. He'll
get there. It'll get there. It takes time.
Again, there's a reason why he's not in the NFL right now, and it's because he wasn't a take, and that was not something there. So, I don't think that Lincoln Riley is a bad offensive play caller. I just think that that's really what he should be, is an offensive coordinator. And, unlucky for him, Cliff Kingsbury, they're so similar that nobody wants to. We just watched that, and now is he in Washington? Cliff Kingsbury is the OC for the Commanders, right? And Jalen Daniels.
Actually,
I'm gonna have to do the Google.
I thought didn't Saban try to get him as a OA or a QA?
I think so.
I'm not sure if he's at Bama right now or not.
He's Commanders. Yeah, he's the OC at the Commanders. So
that's what. Yeah, OC at the Commanders. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see what happens there because Daniels is there now, and it's going to be, he's got a dynamic quarterback. We just saw him not do much with Kyler, and so let's find out what happens there. But it's the whole thing is that you're in the middle of July. You absolutely have no ability to really engage with the fan base, and like I've said recently too, is the NFL gets all their props and all their flowers because they're able to keep absolute relevancy 24/7, 365. And so now going into the SEC, that's something that we got to continue to do. And it was a great thing in Austin and in Norman. And I don't respond to those pictures on Twitter either. They both showed out. Like it was an absolute success. And it's cool because I was coming back from grabbing pizza, and the Paul Finebaum show was starting to roll, and so both OU and Texas are in there in his opening already. So that to hear it organically was pretty fun. I didn't
it's become the thing, guys. I'm excited about that. It makes me
didn't
feel
listen
good,
to the show, but
warms my heart. All right. Let's get on out of here. It's getting late. Y'all get y'all some sleep in preparation for early mornings of smoking briskets and ribs and cooking hamburgers and hot dogs, all of that. Coop's going to be running the live on Sunday. He'll have some special guests joining him. I am traveling. Your boy is out. Thank you, Steven. Got some more merch. Got some OU SEC type stuff. We got a cup shirt. There's only one. Check it out. Link in the description below. Check out the new merch. I got mine on order. I'm waiting for it to pull up so I can rock it. But there's a doggy in the screen that we can't kind of see because we need to come to the middle a bit more. There you go. Put the dog back in. Bring doggy back. Bring doggy back. Yeah, there's a doggy. That's what I'm talking about.
This one's not going to be the official SEC OU dog mascot, though.
That dog ain't SEC ready.
That's reserved for Boomer.
Dog's not SEC ready? That's what we're saying? Okay.
My dog, Boomer, the Shiba, is going to be OU's official dog mascot of the SEC.
All right, let's go with that then.
What's up, Coach Smook? Coach Smook in there, guys. Again, if you want some content, and you want to, hit us up, DM us, whatever. We got guys that we're trying to, have conversations with. Coach Smook is a good, good Alabama guy too. So, check it out because the passionate fan bases are more than 85, 50 people on Twitter. I mean, they go thousands deep. So it's this is going to be a fun year.
Yep. All right. We'll catch y'all later. Hop in the comments. Like, subscribe, rate, review. Give us 5 stars. I think we deserve it. Give us 5 anyway. We will chop it up with y'all in a day or two. Peace out.